So what is a mastering room? First, we start with a really quiet room. Acoustically designed, treated for sound, and most importantly, treated to keep sound from outside the studio from coming in. Start with a really high performance, high quality monitoring system, loudspeakers, playback system. In this case, Duntech Sovereign 2000s are a wide range, really high quality, wide range monitoring system coupled with cello performance amplifiers. They can be loud, but we don't really use them for loud. We use them to hear detail and to hear really deeply into recording. Most of our product comes in on computer these days, on computer files, digital, high resolution digital files, 24-bit, 96K files. We also have tapes that come in on analog tape. We have a Impex tape machine on the other side, so if something is recorded to analog. Our source then plays back into the console. The main center section of the console is mostly analog equipment. The interface for all of the equipment is this custom-made Manley mastering console. Manley is well known for their outboard equipment. I have some other Manley pieces in my console, but this was literally designed on a napkin and sent to their lead designer, and one of only a few systems that they actually built. After they proved that they could do it, they realized they couldn't make any money doing it because there's so much design and integrity went into this. From each one of these switch positions on the Manley console, I can select any one of my processors from the room and insert it into the chain. What I'm doing is listening to the music and trying to decide, based on what I'm hearing, whether it should be lighter, brighter, louder, more moody, whether the vocals are a little bit too loud, maybe the vocals aren't quite clear enough, whether stereo imaging isn't as exact as it should be or as clear as it should be. All of the factors are sort of simultaneously, kind of questioning and trying different aspects of it. But let me give you a little idea of what the different pieces of equipment are. A Soundtech parametric equalizer. It's fairly standard by design, but this particular model has a very quintessential, almost classic EQ sound. Another equalizer in the room is the Avalon 2055. This is all of the equipment is slightly different from typical recording equipment because each control has switches and detents, so that when I recall or come back to do something, I can click and set to exactly the same settings that I had the last time I was using it. The Avalon EQ is also a mastering EQ with detents, just like everything else in the room. And then there's another EQ over on this side of the room, a Manley Massive Passive. So those are three different, this is a very different type of design of EQ. The three different EQs have a very different sound quality. One has a particular gritty, almost crunchy sound that's really effective on guitars and some rock vocals. The other one is a little smoother, has a little bit more gentle top end. And so it's kind of like blending really fine ingredients into a soup or something. There's, the nutty flavor from one and the saffron or the base. So I'll often find myself using 1, 2, or 3 of these EQs just simply based on what it sounds like. Obviously, we need to make things compressed sometimes, and we need to make things loud, so there's a variety of compressors. Manley Very Mu compressor is a tube mastering compressor. Portico from Rupert Neve is an interesting multi-use compressor, limiter, stereo effects processing. The Manley Slam is over here on next to the Massive Passive. Those I don't usually use more than one of at a time. A gain control device is usually one of those 3 devices kind of produces the sound that I'm looking for. I also have a analog peak limiter that's made by Prism. There's some need in my mind when things need to be made loud that we don't use just one device to make it loud. A compressor kind of gives you a sense of raising the average volume up. An analog limiter gives you a little bit of control, maybe a little bit like analog tape might be control. And then the digital peak limiting that you would typically do to raise it up to pop levels. If you rely too much on the digital peak limiting, it gets crunchy, it gets thin, and things like that. So I try to do the gain control in a series of in related steps. After we go through the console, it gets turned into a digital signal and comes back over to the workstation, and where we record the EQ'd elements and then put them together into a session like this one, where all of the pieces are laid out edits are made, track marks are put in, fades in and out are managed, and then we make references, and the client goes home with a mastered copy of their record.